ever heard of anyone telling you they wouldn't like cleaner air? Despite all the political claims that one party makes about another, you can pretty much count on every person you talk to agreeing to the concept of keeping our air clean. Now, how you get there is another kettle of fish altogether. So, how does a community start to gather steam, no pun intended, to change the way they create energy? Somebody has to lead the charge. Again, no pun intended. On today's show, we will look at one community's vision to get there. Here's Maggie Kay with the basics.
Stewardship. It's a term we hear a great deal. There are stewards of resources, stewards of the land, stewards of history, stewards of the children, and stewards of culture. But who is the steward of a community? In particular, your community. Think about it. There are decisions being made in your community right now that will have significant impact on your future and maybe even influence the country. Nay, the world. One set of those decisions revolves around energy. Many local communities and even states are transitioning their source of power from fossil fuels to clean energy sources, such as wind, water, and solar. So what happens when you have a community that wants to provide power for its citizens using clean and renewable energy? What opportunities do they have to jump on? In essence, what is their stewardship responsibility to get the community transitioned off of fossil fuel energy? There is no one answer, but rather a complex mix of things to take into account. So where on earth do we start? First and foremost is buy-in. Community leaders have to be on board because they have to be willing to make the hard decisions that come with making changes to a community. Additionally, the community citizens themselves have to believe in the vision because they must be willing to accept the economic changes that come with the community leaders' decisions. These changes could come in the form of time, money, and resources spent. Finally, to make all of this work, the entire community should have access to all of the facts and data required to build a comprehensive energy plan. This can be a daunting task. To pull this off, local government needs to lead by example. Think about how many county services use energy. Community buildings, public transportation, police, fire, etc. Basically, any service or agency that uses energy should be the first to put together a plan to transition to clean energy. The plan needs to consider where the power is currently coming from and work with the energy companies on the best way to switch to a renewable source. They also need to invest in new assets such as batteries and electric vehicles, which are quickly becoming the norm among government fleets. Leaders need to be thinking about ways to generate electricity for all government services and buildings. One community in Utah that has taken on this challenge is Summit County. They have a goal to transition to 100% renewable energy by 2032. How are they going to pull that off? Well, we'll sit down and have a discussion with them as they work to meet these goals when we come back. For the county seat, I'm Maggie Kay.
Crisp, colorful, a world in transition. You don't have to travel the back roads of Maine to explore autumn in all of its glory. Beaver County offers fall in unique splendor, with drives along forgotten canyons and hikes through meadows exploding with vibrant hues of red and yellow. Hit the road with your family and discover a side of Beaver County you never knew you were missing. Autumn is fleeting, so don't hesitate. Beaver County, it's time to experience the real Utah.
There are meetings, and then there are gatherings. At the Davis Conference Center, we know the difference. Turn your event into something more than just another business summit. With over 70,000 square feet of flexible meeting space, state-of-the-art presentation amenities, and inspiring architecture, the Davis Conference Center is designed to deliver stellar results in a majestic setting. Take your convention to the next level. Schedule now at davisconferencecenter.com.
This is what adventure looks like, and here's what it sounds like. Southwest Utah's Iron County offers some of the most iconic trails within the state that include 200 miles of new trails to be discovered. Check out ironcounty.net for info and interactive maps for your complete guide to off-roading. Explore countless miles of trails in the heart of Dixie National Forest, the gateway to Utah National Parks, Iron County.
All local products have a story of magical places, real people, and delicious recipes spanning generations. So go ahead and discover flavors you've never tasted, and friends you never knew you had. Utah's own. Discover local food.
Welcome back to the county seat. Being a sustainable community is our topic today. We've kind of covered the basics. Now we're going to turn our attention to Summit County, who has made this a mantra to try to become sustainable and completely renewable, which seems like a huge task, but it's exciting to discuss. Joining us for the conversation, Council Member Glenn Wright. Thank you for joining us again.
Pleasure to be here.
And Lisa Yoder, who is the Sustainability Manager for Summit County, which sounds like a new title. You know, Glenn, when you talk about having a county that is completely renewable in energy, it's like there's so many places to start. And it seems so overwhelming. I mean, where did the county begin? Did you start by just saying all buildings need to be LEED certified? Does the county lead by example? Do you do encouragement in the private sector? Where did you begin?
We've actually used all of those techniques. We have some county construction standards for county buildings that were established several years ago, and Lisa was important in designing those standards. But I think we really start the whole process in thinking about what our energy usages are. And if you look at the carbon footprint for almost any community, it's transportation and buildings, electricity. Electricity is the place where you really have to start, because you can supply buildings with heat and HVAC with electricity. We're getting to a regime where in the future, over the next probably 10 years, we'll be able to have electric vehicles, but everybody uses electricity in their home and buildings. So really the first key is to get to 100% renewable energy for electricity. And we're working with Rocky Mountain Power on devising legislation that can go through the legislature this year that will allow the Public Service Commission to establish rates for the community that wants to go 100% renewable.
But I guess my question is, how do you accomplish that? Because if you put all the electricity in the grid, and some of it is coal generated, some of it's natural gas generated, some of it's renewable generated, all those little electrons are sitting in the same system. How do you know that the electron that comes out in Summit County is the electron that was made by the solar panel?
Well, you don't. Absolutely you don't. I have solar panels on my house. Most of my electricity comes from my panels. When I'm not using it, it's going to my neighbors. How do you account for that? It's really an accounting function within Rocky Mountain Power, but we've specifically asked them not to substitute power, but if we're going to go to 100% renewable energy, build more renewable energy for us. So there'll be new energy coming into the grid.
So I guess the concept is that what you have coming, that you know there's a specific offset on the inbound side of the grid that equals your consumption on the outbound.
Exactly. It's a net measured. So we look at how much we consume by the county for all of our operations, and it's 3 megawatt hours, and then we purchase 3 megawatt hours of renewables. We've also built about 18% of our supply is on rooftop solar on our own buildings. So we start with first energy efficiency, reducing the use. We've gone through all our buildings and retrofit with LEDs. We've upgraded our HVAC systems, heating and ventilating systems, so that we use less energy and then more can be provided by renewables.
The first step, though, is to take our county operations to 100% renewable. And that's fairly easy task with Rocky Mountain Power. We can just ask them, build enough solar, build enough renewable, build enough wind for county operations. Beyond that, it's getting the rest of the population of the county, and that's a little trickier.
Yeah, and I was wondering, how do you do that? Can you mandate that all of your county residents have to be on renewable, or do you have to encourage them?
No.
We have to encourage them, and that's part of the legislation that we're crafting with Rocky Mountain Power and Salt Lake City and Park City at this time. And we don't have a final solution to it yet, but there will be some type of optional participation for the public.
What we do is we lead by example. The county is demonstrating what can be done, and then we ask, and I implement programs that mimic what the county has done throughout the county for residents and businesses. So we carry forward programs internally and externally and encourage many people are already on board and wishing to adopt these practices, and some aren't, and that's fine. They have the opportunity, they have the choice, and we spend a lot of time educating the public.
So, Glenn, you've already made a conversion on your house, and you say it's about 18% of or no,
that's
the county water.
county.
How much are you generating your own?
Nearly 100%. Last year, I'm on net metering with Rocky Mountain Power, and your basic bill is in $9.12 in my neighborhood to be connected. I had 11 $9.12 bills and one for $17.
Wow, I guess that is pretty significant.
Yeah.
So how do you solve some of the other problems?
Most of the car companies have said that they're moving to electric vehicles. Ford, as a matter of fact, has said by 2030 they will have 100% electric vehicles in their fleet. Most of the car companies are going that way. We don't have enough market right now to buy pursuit vehicles and for the sheriff's department yet. I'm fairly confident within 5 years we will have those vehicles. Currently, our Sheriff Martinez, has transitioned to a hybrid vehicle, and he's using about half the gasoline that he used to in previous years. I'm fairly confident that in 4 to 5 years, electric vehicles will be robust enough to be used for virtually any purpose. As an example, a typical fully electric vehicle is going to have 60 to 80 kilowatt hours of electricity stored in its batteries. In talking to Sheriff Martinez, his deputies typically do about 100 miles during a typical tour. So that is covered very easily by that electricity. But then you think all of the other accessories that are going on in a police vehicle, the computers, the heat when they're just sitting there. A typical house uses 20 to 30 kilowatt hours per day. So you're going to have 3 to 4 days worth of electricity stored in those cars to run a typical house. So running a police vehicle with a fully electric car will not be a problem in the future. We just have to wait until the market gets there, which is probably going to be in just a very few years.
So I guess the question I have on that detail, because I'm so interested in cars, Tesla is probably on the cutting edge of battery technology, right. And so you can drive from here clear to, I think my neighbor says he can get clear to St. George or Cedar City on a charge easily, and then he has to plug in for 40 minutes to an hour. Mm-hmm. Does this mean if that is the level of where technology comes in when patrol cars go, that should pretty much cover a guy's shift?
Easily.
But then you got to have the downtime to recharge the car. Does that mean the sheriff's department will have to have a bigger fleet?
Well, we have fast chargers that we're putting in at the county and level 2 chargers. The level 2 charger takes, 3 to 4 hours to fully charge a car, and the fast chargers take 20 to 30 minutes. So currently we have 2 fast chargers, and we're adding one this year. So as the needs of our fleet increase, we will add more charging that currently we allow the public to use as well. Private vehicles can use it too. So we build the infrastructure in conjunction with building up our fleet.
So let's talk about some of the other things that we're doing. Obviously, we focused on electricity, replacing other carbon-consuming fuels and going to a renewable source. And so we've looked at buildings, and you're at 18% with the county buildings. You're looking at going to electric fleets. What are some of the areas that help you make this totally renewable challenge? Does it get into building materials as well?
Well, the next hurdle will be to retrofit existing heat sources, which are primarily natural gas furnaces at this time. That's a hurdle that there is existing technology, but of course a wide fleet of homes and buildings are already utilizing that heat source and that heat system. So that's a challenge we're the next big challenge we need to address. A lot of this is evolving over time, and we're learning as we go and as technologies come out.
In your time, Lisa,
yes,
you've been there for what, 7?
5 years.
5 years. 5 years. I don't do my math all that well. What has been the biggest surprise in technology to you as you've watched this stuff unfold?
Probably the speed of the electric vehicle adoption and charging. 3 years ago, we weren't talking about electric vehicles. And now we have several in our fleet. 3 of our 5 council members drive electric vehicles. We have chargers at most of our buildings, or will have by the end of the year. I would say that's the most rapid technology that has come out.
So when you're looking at building new county buildings and building homes in the future, are your building standards going to start dictating to people like you've got to put an in-ground heat transfer system or some of these other efficient measures where you bury pipes in the yard so that it does some of your heat exchanging?
I don't think we'll mandate that level of detail, but what we can do with new developments is through an MPD process have carrots and sticks to build more efficient buildings.
What is an MPD process?
Master plan development.
Okay.
As we get the newer developments, the larger commercial multi-use developments, we have an MPD process in both parts of the county where we have different planning commissions for new developments over 4 houses in a housing development. Mm-hmm. You can get incentives or not get incentives for building more houses if you build them efficiently. We're in the process of putting that into our building codes.
Do you think that the enthusiasm for this will become infectious as more and more people generate into renewable homes?
I think will become infectious because as we move further down the road, renewable energy is becoming more and more cost competitive with conventional energy. The price curves are going in opposite directions. It's going to be to everyone's benefit to do this in the future. Just as we'll be transitioning to electric cars over the next 10 years, we're going to be transitioning to fully electric, very efficient buildings over the next 10 years also, because that's where the technology is taking us. The market will demand it. Yeah. And what we're trying to do in Summit County is kind of incentivize the market to get there a little bit faster in Summit County so we can be an example for the rest of the state and for the country and for the world.
Excellent. Well, we will continue to watch. Thank you for joining us. We'll get a status update from you guys and see how it's going in a couple of years. We appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you.
Well, stay with us. We'll be right back with more of the County Seat. We'll take a personal look at how energy efficiency can impact people's lives in the real world on the ground today when we come back on the County Seat.
The Utah Farm Bureau began as a collection of farmers supporting each other to raise the food we enjoy. Today, Farm Bureau membership encompasses everyone, whether ranchers, growers, or just everyday folks like you and me. Members enjoy discounts on items like vehicles and ATVs, or insurance that's very affordable. You don't have to be a farmer to join, and dues are small, but together we make a big difference in keeping our food supply local and abundant. Join Utah Farm Bureau.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. Oh, there ain't nothing like being raised in the basin with a Ute reservation, skiing starvation, that Duchesne County life.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Welcome back to the County Seat. As we have learned so far, community leaders have to be willing to lead by example. But many examples may not be noticed. If you convert your county road shop to all solar power, who is going to notice? The people who work at the shop, the vendors who come to call, and even at that, unless you mention it to them, will they even notice? So the trick to leading a community to all renewable energy is to keep the thought in front of them all the time. As we are a nation on the move, one such arena is public transportation. Now, whether you're on the bus or not, it always will be on the road with you. And this is an area where one Utah county has led the way not only for its community, but for the whole nation, as we find out today on the ground.
Summit County operates many of our transportation options in conjunction with our partner Park City Municipal under the Park City Transit name. So when we're talking about transit options, we have local bus routes, we have a regional express route which is fully electric, and we have a circulator in the Kimball Junction area which is offered in a smaller 14-passenger van to provide those short trips in the Kimball Junction area for things like shopping, or maybe to run an errand at midday to lunch, or just to make a connection to a longer transit route.
We help a lot of the merchants, whether it's inside Tanger or out here on the road, and you know, picking people up, a lot of people inside Tanger Outlet.
We like using Park City transportation, and as my kids get older, I'm finding that I'm using it more and more, and so are they. Especially this transit center down at Kimball Junction. It has really helped our family because the kids can start to use this as a hub for activities down here in the basin.
This transit center acts as one of the nodal hubs for our entire multimodal system. You can see we have the transit center building right over here. It's equipped with solar panels that power the inside of the building, as well as some of the digital equipment. Over here on our left, you can see we have one of our bike share stations. This is the Summit Bike Share. It's the first fully electric bike share in the nation. All of the bikes have an electric pedal assist that helps propel all of our riders forward. So the idea for transitioning the transit fleet to sustainable energy sources, I mean, that's been ruminating for quite a while. Anyone who's familiar with Park City or Summit County specifically, you know that we both have very aggressive energy and renewable energy goals. So we've been talking about it for years, but it really came to fruition in about 2017 when we were able to deploy the Electric Express route along 224. The hub of our Electric Express, the first fully electric express route in the nation. And you can see this is how the bus is charged with the overhead charging arm. Every 10 minutes you'll see a bus pull into the busway, and it'll be pulled in by our charging unit. I think the reason people like the electric bus so much is because it makes them feel good about using transit. We have a lot of riders that are choice riders, which means that they are making the decision to use transit not because they have to, but because they want to.
Being energy efficient was what got my husband on the bus from Kimball Junction up to Main Street. He was really excited to try out the electric buses. And my kids, growing up in the schools here, they demand that we use energy efficient things more and more. So they're pretty excited about the electric buses.
We're really hopeful for the future. We're really excited to see what technology can bring to the transit industry. We love providing people with multimodal options, and we see becoming even more sustainable as just one more benefit to providing those options to our visitors, our citizens, and most of all to the employees that come into our area every day to work.
So I wonder if any of you watching the story had the same question I did. The buses are great, but how much downtime does an all-electric bus take to charge? You know, Tesla takes about an hour and 15 minutes to go to 100%. I was surprised, however, to find out that it only takes 8 minutes for those overhead chargers to fully charge your bus and get it going again. Impressive. I'll be right back with some closing thoughts in just a minute.
Mountains to explore. Adventure to be had. A town to fall in love with. Yes, all that in Park City, Utah. Start planning your fall adventure at visitparkcity.com.
For 7 years, Utah's Community Voice has been the county seat, a program that looks beyond politics to spotlight the issues and stories that really matter to you and your community. Now you can help set Utah's agenda for the future by joining the conversation. Become a county seat sponsor and help support those conversations that are critical to the future of state government. Contact us at 801-947-8888 to make your contribution to help the voice of Utah be heard like never before.
Utah has a national treasure where winding canyons stretch to the horizon, where nature forms elegant structures, and where iconic monuments of the West stand tall. Visitors around the world come to get a glimpse of southern Utah's legendary landscape and landmarks. Join them and explore San Juan County, Utah's canyon country.
Welcome back to the county seat. I want to go on the record, first of all, saying that I applaud Summit County and their citizens who are striving to become a renewable energy community. And further, I want to say that if you have not looked at the technology involved in photoelectric cells and electric storage, the landscape is quite different than it was only 5 years ago. But some broader questions remain, and that's my 2 cents worth. If our entire country were to shift to renewable energy on today's technology, many ask one question: could we do it? Would we be able to mine enough lithium, cadmium telluride, gallium, copper, tin, or lead? Would there be enough silane or hydrogen for gasification? All these elements are needed to create photoelectric cells, let alone the battery storage. So the answer is probably not. But that does not mean that emerging technologies couldn't explode on the scene in the near future. You know, the first photoelectric cell was created by Edmund Becquerel. Are you ready for this? Back in 1839. It was less than 1% efficient. Today, they are nearly 30% efficient. Most that technology has happened in the last couple of years. Most of that efficiency, I should say. Other technologies for providing power in the future could come from hydrogen, new developments in mechanical applications like heat pumps, but until we get to that point, we still need to look at a mixed portfolio of carbon-based energy production in companion with renewable resources. Renewables, as of 2016, only provided 16% of our energy in the U.S. We also need to look at technologies that can make the generation of carbon fuels even more neutral than they are today. Finally, we need to prioritize where we push for a total renewable community. Focusing on Americans' urban giants first would seem to make the most sense. It does seem to be more logical to make Salt Lake a renewable community with its air quality problems and the costs and availability of resources than to ask Scipio to make the same change. It is an ambitious goal, and it's heartening that places so close to home are willing to sail on that ocean like Summit County. And that's my 2 cents worth for today. As always, you can review this show on our social media channels, and we urge you to like us and then share us with your friends. And finally, give us your thoughts on these topics. You may not agree with what I've said or anybody in the show has said, but you may agree. Both points of view we would like to hear. Doing so will send a message and open up a dialogue with your county leaders. And we will see you next week on the County Seat.